welcome to Neutral Grounds Podcast, where every opinion is unbiased and every joke is on the house. As per usual, we have another banger for you guys today. So, what we're going to be discussing is when is it okay to put these paws on somebody or resort to violence? I'm going to go ahead and get our guests on here. I do want you guys to go ahead and flood the comments. Let me know your opinion on the situation. But without further ado, we'll jump right into it. Okay, that's better. That's better. So I'm gonna go ahead and have you introduce yourself. So let everybody know your name, where you're from, and just a little bit about yourself before we jump into the topic.
Okay. Well, I'm Monique Claiborne. I live in Phoenix, Arizona, originally from Southern California, and I am a realtor, entrepreneur, all things. So that's what I do.
Awesome.
Guess that's about me.
Awesome. So you and Shay are both realtors, so I'm assuming
hmm
that's how she met you.
So before I was a full-time realtor, I was a property manager, and Shay and I were
Oh, okay.
family. Yep.
That makes sense. Well, I don't usually like leaving people waiting for too long, so we'll go ahead and jump right into it. I also know it's pretty late. So,
Yeah.
the first question that I have in regards to the topic are when is it okay to put hands on someone or to get violent or resort to violence?
So personally, I don't think it's ever okay unless you're defending yourself. I'm not a violent person, so for me, I don't think it's ever a reason to resort to violence.
Okay. So, for me, I would say it depends. It depends on the way that somebody disrespected me. Um, I wouldn't say every situation where you're disrespected, you need to resort to violence. But my personal opinion is there is some situations where you can't like where I feel like it would be okay for you to resort to violence.
Like,
Okay? So for instance, if somebody were to invade my personal space, um in an aggressive manner and call me a bitch for say. Well, um, in my opinion, how you react to that type of disrespect shouldn't be necessarily deemed as a bad thing because at the end of the day, uh, we're men and like in my opinion, there's certain levels. Like if you are willing to go to that level of disrespect, like straight to my face, um, I almost feel like it's necessary to resort to violence. Now, I'm not saying that my opinion is right or nor wrong. I'm just saying that's how I personally feel about it.
right, right. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's situational. I've had situations where people have gotten in my face and called me a bitch. So, in those situations, I guess for me, I never resort to violence. It's just a matter of handling it accordingly. In a professional environment, we're just done talking. Personally, I've never had that happen on a personal level. Um, get in my face, call me a bitch. I've had people invade my personal space. Yes.
Okay.
And I guess I'm just not a violent person, so I wouldn't just haul off and hit you. Now, if you touch me, then that's different. Now I'm gonna defend. I'm gonna defend myself if you touch me. But
Right.
I guess for me, I feel like I can handle it with my words and just or walk away from the situation. That's just
Okay. Now, um, just to piggyback off what you said, do you feel like it's different for men versus women, or do you feel like it's the same?
it's a great question. I think men and women are our makeup is different, and I think that um most men have like aggression within them, whereas women aren't. Not all women are aggressive. Some are, some aren't. Um, so I can see where, you get in a man's face and you're in their personal space and you're calling them a bitch because they're just made up differently than women are. I could see where a man might haul off and handle it differently than just walking away from the situation. Does For me, it still doesn't make it right,
Right.
right? I still think there's a level of emotional intelligence that you have to just walk away. I think it makes I think sometimes in a situation it tells a lot about you when you can just walk away from it, because it takes more energy to walk away than it does to just haul off and hit somebody and deal and resort to violence. If that
Okay, this
answers
is
the
going this is going to get good. This is going to get good. So, um, so do you do you believe that resorting to violence shows a lack of maturity?
in most cases I do, but again, if it's a self-defense situation, I wouldn't say that's the case, no. But I think that, again, it does take a lot. It just takes a lot more to just walk away from a situation that is escalating. Especially when it comes to men. I think with men, it's they feel they gotta prove themselves. My husband is quick to pop off. And I don't agree with it, but
So,
he's not going to, if challenged, he's not going to back down. He's going to go for it. And for me, I would encourage him to just take the higher road and walk away, because it's just unnecessary. And and in today's society, I think we're dealing a lot more with mental health issues than never before, and you just don't know the gravity of someone's mental state, and where you have old school people that are like, yeah, let's just put them up and fight it out. you know then you do have other people that are not of that same mentality, and are, maybe they can't fight. Maybe they're scared. Now they want to take it to another level of, I'm just going to shoot you, or I'm going to stab you, and for what, when you could have just walked away.
now,
That's for me.
okay, I understand. So, for me, I don't think so let me put it like this. I don't think resorting to violence shows a lack of maturity depending on the situation. Now, I think we kind of view it differently, like far as when it's okay to be violent or show violent behavior.
Hmm.
But to an extent, like I don't think that, for instance, if somebody invaded your personal space, was showing verbal aggression, or if they disrespected your significant other, or said some pretty fucked up shit to like your kid.
Hmm.
um there's just different things where I feel like there's lines that you don't cross, and where
Hmm.
I feel like it doesn't at all show lack of maturity for somebody resorting to violence, in my opinion. Now, if you're one of those people that's just a hothead and you just get mad at the tiniest stuff and you're ready to resort to violence, I can understand for situations like that, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
um but far as just like like deeper situations or more intense situations, um, I don't think it has anything to do with an individual being mature. And like even if we, let's see here. Like for instance, the definition of mature is fully developed physically, full grown, or having reached the most advanced stage in a process.
Hmm.
It's like, can you really say that somebody resorting to violence that has anything to do with maturity
I
based
would
on the
say that
the definition?
So, to your point, based off that definition, I would say that they are not fully advanced in their emotional intelligence. So that could be a sign of maturity, of immaturity, if that makes sense.
Okay. Okay. Well,
That's
I
what
see where you're
that's
coming from with that.
yeah,
Um,
and to your point, I mean, I've had my mom was a fighter. When it came to us kids, you couldn't. She had three rules: don't mess with my kids, my husband, or my money. Those three, and the only times I ever saw my mom fight was when it came to me and my siblings. So growing up, I didn't think she was immature. I just thought, oh well, that is just what it is. You messed with us, so mom took care of it.
mom
But
took.
now, now I'm kind of like, well, um, my mom probably could have handled those situations in a different way.
Okay.
Also, times are different. I couldn't imagine. I have a son, and I couldn't imagine fighting another parent over my son because they said something that I felt was offensive toward my child. Now, I'm going to address it if it's offensive, absolutely. But I couldn't imagine just hauling off and hitting another adult
Okay.
because they offended me.
Got a scenario for you.
Okay.
So if so, and this can go. So I'm going to line this one up like um kind of with two different situations.
Okay.
So first one being, how would you react if another woman pointed her finger in your significant other or your husband's face in an aggressive manner, was calling him a bitch or whatever, threatening him, whatever the case may be, and you're right next to him? Also, how would you react if a parent walked up to your kid like at the park, right, and was like, talking to him like hella crazy, like, you need to watch what the fuck you're doing, you little heathen, you like, and they're pointing all up in his face. So I want to know how you would react to each of those situations.
Those are really great scenarios. Because in that situation, just you describing it to me, I wouldn't be as calm as I am saying that, saying what I'm saying. So I could see that quickly escalating 100%. I think, initially I would step in and address the situation, just, woman to woman, that this is inappropriate and this is not what we're going to do. Um, and if it continued to escalate, and again, that finger in my face ends up touching me in any way, well, then now we have grounds to diffuse the situation.
See, so you have more patience than me because I'll answer my own. I actually had a sense. So I do have patience to an extent, right? I can kind of cover just a quick story of a situation that happened actually where I currently live.
Okay.
So I was taking my dog to the dog park. It's a one person dog park. It's super small.
Okay.
Has the instructions and everything right on the front. I got there first, just walked in, and a lady had came up with two dogs after me, and now she proceeded to stand there with her two dogs while they're barking. And instead of walking away, so now my dog was distracted and he's not using the bathroom. And so I'm in my head thinking like, yeah, you got to be a real special person to just stand there knowing how dogs operate, and how, like, if you really wanted to get in here, you're going to just stand there and make it take longer for yourself. So
Right.
I'm just sitting in there. I got all day. Like, I'm just sitting in there till, and she just starts making like smart comments like, "Hey, can you just take your dog out so I can bring my dogs in to use the bathroom and then you can come back in?" I'm like, I'm not sure where you're from, like, um, but where I'm from, like, no, like that's like being in line at a grocery store. Hey, like, let me pay for my stuff first and then you can go behind. That's not how it works. Like, I got here first. So I'm like, respectfully is what I told her. Respectfully, I'm gonna wait for my dog to use the bathroom and then I will leave. If you would like the process to work faster, you, if I was you, I would probably take the dogs around the corner because they're distracting him. And she got
Mm-hmm.
mad and sat there. Then, after maybe 2 minutes, she decides to just walk up to the gate, knowing it's only one at a time. And
Mm-hmm.
she had a pit bull and a Siberian husky. I also have
Mm.
a pit bull. She brings
Okay.
her dog in. My dog is off leash. It's a one person. She without just walks in, leaves the door open. I run to grab the door so my dog doesn't run out. Well, my dog is nice, so he's running around in circles trying to play, wagging his tail, jump. Didn't know that her dog was mean, so she brought him in there knowing it was aggressive. And I turn around after I shut the gate, and her dog, her pit bull, lunges out, grabs my dog by his neck, and then I start hearing yelping. I go to run up to break it up, and she just punches me right in my face. And then, and then I don't
The
pay her no
lady?
mind. Yeah, she just punched me straight in my face when I ran up to grab before I even get to the dogs. So she
Mm-mm.
punched me straight in my face. Mind you, it's not a small. She's about like 5'10", 215 pounds. Not a little lady.
Okay, yeah.
So she hits me. I kind of just shrug her off. I punch her dog in his head. He doesn't let go. I punch him again. He doesn't let go. I lift him up over my shoulder. Mind you, this whole time while I'm trying to get her dog off my dog, she's punching me in my face whole
Oh my
time.
God.
And so I'm just like disregarding her because right now my concern is my dog. Now,
Right.
I also was raised to not put my hands on a woman. However, we can get into that in a second. But
Mhm.
so she hits me about 6 times in my face, clean shots, because I'm not defending. I'm just trying to get my dog off of her dog. So
Right.
by the sixth time, and I lift her dog up and slant, he's not letting go, by the way. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, I look up, I'm like, get the fuck, just same tonality. I'm like, get the fuck off of me and help me get your dog off my dog. And it's like she just snaps out of her ignorance and then helps me. We break the dogs up, and I'm like, what is your problem? Like,
She
are
was
you
a pit bull too.
right now? The thing that bothered me was I would be in the wrong if I turned around. I could have punched her one time. I would have broke her whole face. It'd have been,
Right.
it would have been broken bones, one shot. She's in the
Mm-hmm.
hospital. I'm in the wrong, even though she just hit me 6 times. So like, I have restraint, right, to a certain extent, but just I brought that scenario up to show like, even though I didn't, I didn't put hands on her,
Mm-hmm.
I believe that anybody would have been in the right to punch her, man or woman, would have been in the right to
I
strike
agree
her.
with I agree with you.
So, like, um, and mind you, this whole situation was getting blamed. Like, I was being blamed for the whole scenario until
Mm-hmm.
they pulled the cameras. That's the only
Mm.
thing that got me off the hook, and she got immediately evicted. But
Mm.
I just said that to say, like, yeah, I do have restraint, but I also don't feel like it's wrong. Like, if I would have reacted in the other way, like, you're assaulting me, and it's like, at this point, like, how I decide to respond is, in my opinion, is my decision to make. And I don't feel like there's a wrong decision. I don't feel like it's wrong if I would have pulled a pistol out and shot her. You're assaulting me, punching me in my face. So at that point, whatever somebody decides to do, I don't think that they should be judged based on their reaction to what somebody did to them, whether it was disrespect or extreme disrespect or it was
Mm-hmm.
violence. And
Mm-hmm.
that's my opinion on that. But so
That situation's tough. It's tough because I agree that you would have been in the right had you hit her, restrained her, whatever you needed to do, be it man or woman in that situation. She put herself. I don't think as women we should put ourselves
in a man's position.
in a man's position. Exactly. We already know that men are stronger than us, um, genetically. So in that situation, she was like a little pit bull, like her dog. So she obviously needed to be, restrained or taken care of, but you handled it really well. I think the violent, the gun part of it, that one's tough for me because I think that if, as a man, if you could have just restrained her or put her down with just hitting her, then there's no need to pull out a gun. But again, when
Oh,
dealing
I
with,
I agree. We're on the same terms with that. I'm just
yeah.
saying if I had seen somebody the way, because actually have the video of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I seen like if you watch this video and I was just watching and somebody I don't know, man or woman, the way I was
Mm-hmm.
being attacked,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna feel any type of bad for that girl. I'm like, yeah, she deserved it. Like
Mm-hmm.
what?
Mm-hmm.
So because I didn't, and like I don't agree with doing that in a situation of when it's a woman and she didn't have a weapon, but
Right.
I also don't think it's wrong if because at the end of the day, it's an opinionated thing. Just because like my opinion or your opinion is that oh well you should react this way to being assaulted. Who are we
Mm-hmm.
to tell the next person how they're supposed to react to being assaulted? They should be able to react however they see fit.
I agree. I mean,
That's just where I
that's
was coming
real.
from with
Yeah.
that.
Yep. Yep. That's real. That is.
um but so to go on to um the next question now, I know you react, I mean you kind of explained far as like if you had your kid at the park, but you didn't explain if it was you and your husband and there was a woman in his face.
The same thing. I would
Same thing.
interject myself, yes, and again, because a woman shouldn't be putting herself in my husband's face because that's gonna enrage him, and obviously, woman to woman, I'm just gonna handle it, and it's gonna go from where it goes at that point. Most women are just gonna handle it with the woman. Some women are gonna get violent. I've never been in that situation. I would say again, it would most likely be situational. I can't see, just some random. You just never know. I can't see some random
Right.
woman doing that. But again, your situation at the dog park. I mean, that's crazy in itself. So these days, you never know. So in that situation, I would just interject, address the situation, and let it be what it's going to be, and however it goes is how it's going to go. Yeah, and
That's
hope that it
fair.
doesn't go in a violent manner.
Now, for me to answer my own question that I had to you though was if a man, just as I asked you of a woman,
Mm-hmm.
if I was at the park with my daughter and a man came up to her, speaking to her like that in an aggressive manner, um, it's gonna be no hesitation. You're like I'm damn near gonna beat you to the point of no return, like where you're hospitalized. Like, and it's not even I just know the amount of love I have for my daughter and how I treat her. I don't even give my daughter whoopings. The reason behind that, everybody, oh, you're supposed to discipline. I discipline my daughter in different ways, but the reason I don't actually physically whoop her is because I don't ever want her to think it's okay for a man to put his hands on her. And if I lead by example as her father, that gives no other man any right to do it because her own daddy doesn't do it. So,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I don't do that. Now, I encourage her mom to whoop her, like because you can do that, like you're the mother, but for me, I don't want her to ever just think that it's okay for any man to put his hands on her. So if I don't talk to my daughter like that. I don't put hands on my daughter, I will be
You wouldn't
damned.
allow another man to do it.
I will
Yeah.
be I will be damned.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
now, if you actually physically touched her, um, you're probably just gonna get shot, right? I'm not even gonna waste my time. It's just that's just what's gonna happen. Now, do I feel there is like um other ways to handle it? Like, yeah, you can go other routes, but um for me, I think a big problem with society is letting people slide all the time. Because in my opinion, when you allow people to slide, oh, well, like I reacted like this to a 60-year-old, so nothing happened from it. Guy just talked to me or like whatever, and not a big
Mm-hmm.
deal. They're gonna be more apt to do it to the next person or the next time they have a situation with a kid. But if they
Mm-hmm.
got stomped out where they were hospitalized, they're gonna think twice before they come up and approach another kid in the same way that they did previously. That's my take on
Right.
it.
And
And
I don't disagree with that. I agree with that. They probably
far
would
as
think about
like
it.
far as like my significant other, um, if a man was to ever like come up talking to her in that way, now
Mm-hmm.
mind you, it would depend on what she did. Now, if she didn't do anything, then it's instant violence. So there's not no like it's instant. But if I find out she done called you a bitch or something like that, I'm not gonna resort to violence. I'm just gonna be like, hey man, like look, I get it, women are women, but I don't even want to take it there. Like it doesn't need to go there. I'll address her. My apologies, man to man, and then we can go our separate ways. But if there was she did nothing, like it was something stupid, he just maybe she just bumped into him on accident and you just turn around and acted like that, it's instant violence. There's just I'm not gonna hesitate. You're getting instantly punched in your face because I feel like at that point you just tested my nuts. You just can't. You if you felt comfortable enough for no like real significant reason while I'm here to walk up and disrespect my girl in front of me, you must think I'm a bitch. So like at that point, I feel disrespected now. You just tested me, and in my opinion, the one of the two biggest things that women look for is a protector and a provider. Well,
Yeah.
how can my woman feel protected if a man is coming at her in an aggressive manner and I'm not handling that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the way I view it, in my opinion. Now, obviously, like I said in the beginning, just because that's my opinion doesn't mean that it's necessarily correct. That's just how I see it.
Right. Right. And I think it's
Um,
fair. I think it's fair what you're saying. I still, in my opinion, I still think that it can be handled first with words and trying to soften the blow without the violence. And I just think for me, it's about the bigger picture and just dealing with, um, you just never know what you're dealing with. I would hate to be in a situation that has now escalated and my man get hurt, or, God forbid, is killed for trying to not have his, because he doesn't, his nuts were, I don't know, his nuts were tested or
and
whatever.
he would be looked
you
at
know?
as a real man. They would be
Yeah,
looking at him like he defended his wife, and rightfully so, and that's a real man, and he would go down as a legend.
I know, but then now I don't have my man no more. That,
No, I
you
get
know?
that. I get that from a woman's point of view. So, how do you think your man would react to the same situations that like we talked about between me and you?
He would do the same. He would
Okay.
he is, I think men are naturally aggressive, and they, like you said, I mean, they don't want their, what is it? They're, they got to let their nuts hang and they don't want to
Well,
be
they don't
tested.
want like you feel like somebody's testing your nuts.
Yeah.
You feel like
Yeah.
somebody you are basically like your actions are telling me that I'm a bitch. That's what your
Mhm.
actions are telling me. So
Mhm.
now I have to show you otherwise.
Mhm.
And because you felt the need to disrespect me, now my reaction to the disrespect is going to be however I feel necessary.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's just
Yeah.
how I look at it. And so
Yeah.
and a lot of men look at it like that.
They do.
But
They do. I
yeah,
had a
so
situation on Friday where I called my husband. I had a man. Um, he scared me, and I'm not easily scared, but he did. He scared me, and I deal with the general public, and
mhm.
um, I wasn't sure what his motives were or what And I was working late, so I had to call my husband and tell him, come meet me at the office, and he did, and he didn't get out all, the old him I think would have gotten out just to make his presence known. But he stayed in the car, let me come to the car, and he sat in the parking lot, I guess, for a while and peeped out the scene to see what was going on. But then he realized the guy was nowhere to be found. And we later talked about it, and I knew that he carries, and I didn't even
Yeah.
think about that when I called him. I just called him because I was just like, I'm nervous and I need you to be here because this man is big and you're big. So I need a big man to come over here and make sure that I'm okay going to my car. But I really thought about it
And,
later, and I thought to myself, God, if that guy had been there, how could that have
well,
been different?
I think I'm based on how you present yourself, you're an image of your husband and vice versa. So
Mm,
I think that he would have enough discernment um to only utilize his firearm when it's at the
necessary.
right moment. So
Hmm.
like self-defense is different. Like, right, if you're just gonna you're mad and you're just gonna pull it out and walk up and shoot somebody and there's no like reaction to defending, then
Hmm.
yeah, that's not a smart decision. But hindsight, the problem nowadays like is you so I used to always want to just fight some like bro, why can't somebody like why I just want to fight you. That's all. Like I want you to go back home to your family, right?
Right.
Just give me my ones for disrespecting me and like whatever. But that was the younger me. Now I understand people don't want to fight. You will get shot, right? A lot of the time. So I like had to shift gears once like I had my daughter and I'm understanding like now I can't just resort to like thinking somebody's like me, oh, we're just gonna duke it out and go our separate ways, shake up, whatever. That's not what's gonna happen a lot of times. Somebody will shoot you. So I don't want to
Yeah.
have to resort to that, which is why I try to stay away. But that's another reason why, like, when I was like, oh, I'm probably just gonna shoot you, it's because I don't want to I'm not gonna put myself in a situation where I don't get to come home to my daughter, right? She doesn't deserve that. Now,
Right.
I'm very like I hope I would never need to use my firearm, right? That's best case scenario, but I would rather have it not need it than not have it when I need it the most, right? So
That,
like and for me, um I don't lead with that and I'm also not going to like I'm not going to drive to a scene or pull up to a situation looking to use my firearm. It's more like if that problem came to me, like I had somebody follow me off the freeway in their car while I was on
mm-hmm.
my way to work because they were mad that
Mm,
that I supposedly cut them off, even though they were like 3 car lengths behind me,
mm,
and followed me for like 5 blocks off the freeway. So finally, I'm close to my job at this point. I'm like,
mm,
I'm just gonna handle the situation before I get to my job where they know where I work. So
mm-hmm.
I pulled into a gas station just to see, like, I'm not gonna press you, but you have your opportunity. And mind you, I have my firearm in my lap with one in the chamber. He gets out of his car, walks up to me, like it's walking up in an aggressive manner. I up my firearm, and he turned into a completely different person. And I let him know, like, pretty much like, look, we're not doing this. So like, it's either you get back in your car or roll out, or you don't go home today. What's your option?
Mm,
Those are your only options.
mm,
So
mm.
like, it's not that I
Yeah,
want, but I'm not gonna, like, we're too old to be like having to worry about somebody shooting us or taking our life away. Like
right.
fighting's a different
Right.
story, but like if I can avoid having to fight you, that's great. But I know there's situations where you can't, but if I can, great. I
Yeah.
would choose that route.
Well, and if you're following me for miles or blocks,
Right.
you're clearly putting yourself in it, and then approaching my vehicle. I'm sitting in the car. Again,
Yeah.
I think that's a matter of self defense. If you had whatever you
Oh,
had to do in the
hundred
situation
percent,
would have
hundred
been self
percent.
defense.
It just depends,
Yeah.
cause you see those videos where, and I'm glad it wasn't that, cause I don't want to have to take somebody's life.
Right.
If I have to,
Right.
I will, but I don't want to have to. But
Right.
um, it's like you see those videos where somebody will um pull their firearm, and the person will still keep coming at them crazy, and they just have no choice but to shoot them. And there is people like that, but it's like he
Yeah.
wasn't one of them, so at least he had some type of smarts about himself.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but to go on to the next question,
Yeah.
ooh, you said what?
No, I said yeah.
Oh,
Next question.
so um, does backing down make a man look weak?
Probably to his male peers, not necessarily to me and to some women, and maybe to other women it may, to some women it may not. Again, I think
So what would you
it's
say based on the general consensus? And what I mean by that is all women and all men. Do you think if you put the whole population of the United States, do you think there would be a higher percentage that would deem a man as weak, or a lower percentage that would deem him as weak?
well, I think it's situational too. So depending on the situation, I think that, well, we live
Based
in a
on this
crazy.
the situation based on the situation we talked about, let's go off that. If a
Okay.
man was in your face, would it point his finger in your face calling you a bitch?
Yeah,
And that
the majority of society would deem him as weak. I
okay.
think if he backed down, yes.
Okay. And see that, but obviously you said you wouldn't though, correct?
No, I mean, depending, as long as it was handled, it was addressed, and it wasn't something that just went was allowed to happen. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that resorts in a physical altercation. As long as you check the situation and you let it be known that this is inappropriate, it's not
Explain
going to
checking the explain how you would want him to check the situation where it would not make him look weak, but he did not resort to violence. And
happen.
that could violence in my, like, it could be like where he's not coming off in a violent manner, even like where he's not like coming up, all you bitch ass, da, 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 like the fuck out my
Yeah.
wife's face. I'm saying, if that, to me, that's the same thing, resorting to violence, or like, to me that's violent behavior. So
Yeah,
I'm
it's
saying,
and it's
what
and
is
it's
a
fighting words.
right? So what? How could he handle that situation without utilizing violent behavior or violence, and not
hmm
be deemed as weak in your eyes?
Come intervene and ask. Hey, my husband would probably say something along the lines like, "Hey, peace, peace, God, you got a problem?" And just let it be. That's literally what he would probably say. That's how he talks. And so he would just let him know, like, you got a problem, your problem's with me. You're not gonna talk to my shorty like that, wifey like that. So what's up?
But listen
and
to that. You got a problem, your problem's with me. So it's like now, what do you think that male is going to say? Because I don't. That's the problem. I think people. I don't. Especially some women. I don't think women really realize like there's. I don't. I think it's damn near impossible. Um, to de-escalate a situation where a man is aggressively coming at a woman
hmm
where you don't get aggressive yourself or it doesn't resort to violence. It's like because if the only other situation is like, hey man, please like I don't we don't want any problems. And if you do that, your wife's gonna be
you
like,
will be
look
looked
at
at as
this
weak.
bitch ass nigga like I'm not like he can't protect me. Like what? So how
So
like
maybe it's
how
for
is a
the
man
woman.
supposed hmm?
Maybe it's for the woman. If the man interjects and addresses it, like your problem is with me, then maybe the woman has to step in and be the bigger person and say, we're leaving. Pull the man away. That's what I would most likely do. Like we're
Right.
leaving at this point.
No, and that's fine, but I'm saying for the man, because earlier you said you believe that like for a man to like showcase violence, right? Violent
hmm
behavior, all that good stuff, like
It's a
it's
sign of
wrong in any it's
immaturity.
wrong in yeah, so like how like so you're are you saying that basically all men the I will put like this, men that are desirable to women
hmm
would you say are all immature? Because I don't think I know an alpha man. And when I say an alpha man, I mean a masculine man.
Yeah.
Women don't want beta men with no masculinity. So, like, if you're
True.
a masculine man, which is what
hmm
women want, what masculine man is going to handle any situation where his significant other, his loved one, or someone of importance to him um where it has no type of violent behavior or no violence involved because I don't see how you do that if there is a man in the picture in this whole scenario where he is also heightened and in a violent state without him being a complete bitch and being like bud like look I apologize
Right. Yeah.
how does he de-escalate that without being a bitch I guess is my question.
You well, what's this, you can't really. I think that is already a very escalated, heightened situation. Um, and if the man doesn't address it, he's looked at as weak. If
Right.
he addresses it in a manner that isn't considered alpha approach, like you said, he's looked at as weak. And if he addresses it
Then he's looked
in,
at as immature. So it's a lose lose.
it is a lose lose. He can be looked at as immature, right? Not necessarily though. Like, because if he addresses it and it doesn't result into violence, then it's like thank you. The woman is like, okay, I have a strong man that will come to my defense, that is not, that I trust is a protector, that's going to protect me and stand up for himself,
Right.
but at the same time has enough emotional intelligence and awareness that it didn't need to go to violence, so it ended, it was quashed, and sometimes if it has to go there, it goes there. But I think it's situational. If it
Right.
goes there, then it goes there. And in those situations, it's like, for me personally, I would look at it as, okay, well, that was still a self-defense moment, that this man was aggressively coming at me. My husband stepped in to address it. The man still wanted to escalate the situation, and
So
it
you wouldn't
turned
look at
violent.
him as immature for that.
No, no,
Okay.
no, because I think that's it's something that he did. As long as he didn't come in and just clock the man upside the head,
Right.
or punch him in the face, like, you're not gonna talk to my girl like that. So bow, here we are fighting. Okay, That's different. Like, okay, seriously? We could have probably handled that in a different way. That
Right.
that I would probably look at as that's a little immature. But something where you went in and you had no intentions on fighting, but every intention on addressing and de-escalating it, and it turned violent, it is what it is.
So, do you think most women would feel safe, right, being with you as a man, as their significant other, if you ever encountered a situation where you did not protect or defend her when she was um dealing with a situation like one of the ones that we had just spoke about?
No, absolutely not.
Right. And so
Absolutely.
I also feel like that puts this kind of like pressure on a man because like it can go wrong in so many ways. It's like, okay, they don't want us to be violent, right? We're looked at as immature. They don't want they don't want you to be a bitch because then you're looked at as weak. But then it's like you go through these, but then if even if this girl says she doesn't like want her man, she wants her man to be um she wants her man to be mature and to to handle things without using violence, but then that being the only way to solve certain situations, um but you can't resort to that because now you're deemed as immature, but if you do, then I mean, but if you don't, then you're deemed as a bitch, and then also your woman doesn't feel safe with you. So it almost feels like it's really hard for, in my opinion, for a man to win when certain situations come up because of the you're like damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
I
I could that's a fair assessment. I could see how it could feel like that, especially as a man. Um, but I think we have to, as humans, we have to kind of sometimes assess the situation and really discern, like you said earlier, the situation and not just react. And I think that it's easier said than done. Um,
I feel like
and
some
obviously,
situations you can, but a lot of situations that like could occur where you're actually gonna have to resort, it's like bang bang. Do you really have a chance to
it
sit there
happens
and
so
take
fast.
yourself to the ceiling and be like, I mean, to the rooftop and be like, I should probably act. No, it's just kind of like, okay, this guy, this big dude is up in my girl's face cursing at her. Like, my instant reaction, like, she's looking all scared. My instant reaction is to protect, being use physical force or like exert yourself in a masculine way. Like, who the fuck are you talking to? And push the guy. Like, it's if you, it's
Mm-hmm.
like a natural instinct because we're protectors. And I mean,
And that makes and that is fair and makes a lot all the sense in the world because you are right. Men are the protectors and we look to you guys to protect. And so I don't look at it like that just because that's not my natural reaction to just insert and just put, you know what I mean, and just start
so,
use
so
physical force.
do you think it's fair that society puts that type of label on men who resort to violence, knowing that, um, like, especially regarding situations with women or children, knowing that they have the job of protecting you guys? Is that fair to deem them as immature or look at them in a negative light, um, when they're doing what they know how to do to protect you?
That's a great question. It may not be fair. It may not be fair. I don't think it is fair, but I also don't think a lot of things aren't fair, right? And I think that I
Life isn't
think that
fair.
life isn't fair. I think that in knowing that that's how society labels men, and looks at violent behaviors, um we you just have to kind of be bigger than that sometimes. And again, there's a very fine line between self-defense and just, I just took matters into my own hands because this upset me and I was triggered, and I was and I had to feel like my nuts needed to hang and like I was being
Right.
tested. There's just a fine line between those things. And given whatever that situation may be, I think that the overall judgment of that situation should be deemed as necessary, if that makes sense.
No, that that makes sense. So, oh, that's a good one. Do you think that violence is in a man's DNA?
I don't think it's violence. I think that is more of the upbringing and the environment in which the man grows up in and is reared in. I think aggression is in a man's DNA, 100%.
So, aggression and violence,
Hmm.
how do you differentiate the two?
Well, I think aggressive, you can be easily
Because
triggered.
how can, because if you're aggressive, right? If you
Hmm.
do any action in an aggressive manner, that's
Hmm.
violence, right? Like if I'm like, because I can say, oh, you're being a bitch. But if I'm like, you're being a fucking bitch, like, and I'm in your face, it's the act of aggression that makes it like violent behavior. So like,
Hmm.
if a man is aggressive by nature, wouldn't that not like kind of coincide with being violent by nature?
Not necessarily, and I'll give you an example. When I first started dating my husband, we were out, and he's an alpha male. He left for a while,
Shout
and
out to the alpha males.
shout out to them. He came back and he noticed a bunch of guys talking to my girls and I, and he basically said hi, introduced himself, let his presence be known, and basically went around the circle and said, "Oh well, she's married, she's this. You could talk to her. This one's with me." And let it be what it was going to be. He didn't. And the other guys had no, there was nothing more you could really say or do. It was just other than like, okay, well, he let it be known what it is. And, maybe we could talk to these single ones over here, but
Right.
there's not, whatever it was, but he didn't come up and try to, some may have deemed that aggressive, right? Just very assertive. Sometimes assertiveness can also be deemed aggressive, in my opinion. I think I'm an assertive person as a woman. Some people may deem me aggressive, but I'm not violent. I know how to assert myself when I need to. And I guess I said all that to say that in that situation, that to me is the difference between aggressive and maybe violent. Like he asserted himself. He might have come off aggressive to the end, like, yo man, like we was just
I
talking.
actually like how you broke that down. I can actually agree. So I'm going to take that. Well, I guess I didn't necessarily say. I was just kind of asking you to if there's a difference, but no, I agree. I actually agree with what you said. So yeah, there's definitely a difference from aggression and violence. But far as my opinion on if violence is in a man's DNA, I'm gonna say abso-fucking-lutely. When you look at all back through history, like
Yeah.
men have been violent all throughout history. Like it doesn't matter if it's war from sword and shield, from gladiators, from Vikings, from like back in where people were being beaten back in the day of with Christ, people getting
Hmm.
freaking nailed to cross it. Like you can't all throughout time, like combat sports,
Mm-hmm.
Men,
That makes sense.
I think men, it is in their DNA, and it's embedded in them. Violence is embedded in them because it's happened from so many generations throughout history. There's no era where you can show like where men were not violent.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's similar to like the traits in certain, like even animals, right? Like whether it be pit bulls, and that's why they're dog aggressive. They're not necessarily people aggressive because they were
Mm-hmm.
actually bred to when they were in the pits, they could not bite the referees because if they did, they were instantly put down. So that's why
Okay.
they make terrible guard dogs. But with other dogs, they were bred over time to be aggressive towards other small animals or other animals. So it makes sense, but the same for humans. Like if you're just constantly in violence throughout hell hundreds, thousands of years, then it's just going to be embedded in your DNA. It just what comes with it. I think that
Mm-hmm.
also like we have higher testosterone, so we're gonna act in more of aggressive manner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's my take on it. So based on my take, do you still feel that that men don't have um that violence doesn't run in their DNA, or do you just or do you think it's possible?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I still stand on. I think you do definitely. Men definitely have more to have a higher testosterone level, which probably adds to um their level of aggression and how quickly it can,
Heighten
yeah, exactly,
situations can
yeah.
get heightened.
Hmm. But I think, I think violence, I just really think that for someone, for their first reaction to be to resort in a violent manner, it's got to be something that has been like they've seen that it's been embedded in them, they've been around it. I have a hard time just accepting that it's just the first reaction. And again, it's situational because if it's your mom, if it's your daughter, if it's your significant other, I see where obviously you're going to go into papa bear mode, into protective mode, 100%, but doesn't necessarily mean that you automatically are going to just pop off and resort to violence. Not every time. Um but I can see how it can quickly escalate in that manner given the situation. So I would say the same thing to you. If you and your girl get into it, she slaps you in the face, you know that one hit can put her down. She repeatedly slaps you in the face. You are a man with a high testosterone level, and if you're not violent, you're probably just going to restrain her. You're probably not
So
just going to haul off and start beating
so here's the thing with me. I am like anybody that knows me, like friends
her.
and all, I have probably the most restraint when it comes to women, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not putting my hands on a woman, but I
Mm-hmm.
am a complete different man when it comes to other men. Like I will be quick to put my hands on you. Now, with women, right? Um, I feel like I haven't been in a relationship yet. I'm 33. I haven't been in a relationship where a woman has really put her hands on me. So
Mm-hmm.
to me, I feel like it comes down to your aura about yourself and like a certain level of respect that a woman has for you, or where they know like they can go there with some men and they can't go there with others, or they're not even going to attempt to, right? And maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
also be because my demeanor. So I I don't call women out their name. No, hold, let me revert because that'd be a lie. I've never called my significant other, right? If I'm
Okay.
in a relationship with you, I've never called them out their name. I don't put hands on them. Um, I'm not like I don't even really like when I get into a debate or an argument, I'm really mellow. I have the same tonality. So like I'm not really gonna engage and get all hyped up and all that. I don't do so maybe that also plays a factor of why a woman hasn't like made that attempt to really try to put her hands on me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um but but yeah, no, I'm like if it I'm trying to think if it was to happen, like and my girl was to just haul off and smack me, um I can't lie, the relationship will probably be over. Like I'm not first off in my head, like you just because I'm gonna be I think the thing that would make me the most mad or upset is the fact like when a woman puts their hands on me is that I feel helpless, like I can't do anything about it, right? Because I don't want to. I know if I hit you, I know what's going to happen to you. So to me, it's just frustrating. So if a woman had the audacity to put her hands on me, the relationship will be over because I'm gonna look at you like you just hit me with the most um disrespect that I've
Disrespect.
ever experienced, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna tolerate it. Like so it would just be over.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I get
Yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah, I don't. And so I heard a story from a man who told me his girl bit him, and I said, well, what did you do? And he said, initially, I wanted to throw her ass out the window. He said, but I
Now,
didn't.
hold on, let me clarify. Are you talking about bit him in a certain area or just in general?
No, like she bit him because, like, she was upset. She was on one.
So
Yeah,
she just
she was
like
under.
reached out and just bit his arm or something. Just
Bit it. Yeah,
what?
bit his like back and bit him on the back.
Hungry, hungry hippo.
Yeah. So she bit him on the back, and he said that it hurt. He jumped. He was in so much shock. He said initially, I wanted to throw her drunk ass out the window. He's like, but I didn't. He said I just picked her up and I grabbed her. He's like, and I just kind of just put her down on the couch, like let her know that's crazy. So I think, had the man been a violent man, maybe he would have handled that in a different manner. Maybe he would have Chris Browned her. I don't know. But I feel like that's a possibility. Had he been a man that was raised around violence and seeing men hit women or whatever the case may be because of his natural aggression, of being a man, and that being so shocking to anyone, being bit like that, anybody would kind of naturally react in a like, so, but I think that man was just his aggression allowed him to s- restrain her in the way that he saw fit, but not hurt her, if that
Right.
makes sense. And to
No,
your point, I
I
do
don't.
agree with you that men deal with most men deal with men on a man's level versus they're gonna do react differently when it's a woman.
That's the
Then
point
you
to
just
where
have
you make that where people are like I agree, where it's like as a woman, the reason why I said like I don't look I don't look at it as a bad thing if a man puts his hands on a woman if he was assaulted, right?
hmm
If
hmm
because if you made the decision to put yourself in a man's position and you caught fire because the man reacted as a man would, that is on you, my friend. And so I don't look at it as a bad thing. I don't do it, but I don't judge. Like if somebody was like, "Oh, this girl just punched me and busted my lip," and I slapped the shit out of her, or I punch, like she shouldn't have punched. Like why is this girl putting her hands on a
put
man?
hands on
Like I'm
him.
gonna be teaching my daughter, don't you ever put your hands on a man. Like
Yeah,
I don't care
agree.
under no circumstances unless you're fighting for your life and he's like attacking you because you can always come get me. You can always like you're you are the weaker species. You're not ever gonna win that battle.
I agree.
So it's
I
like just
agree.
don't put yourself in that position. Like doesn't make any sense. I don't even like I'm gonna teach my daughter, don't even antagonize a man. Like I don't know why women think, oh, like I'm gonna press every button that I can to try to get him as mad as possible. Now when he finally erupts, and then you're, oh, he hit me. I mean, but why are you doing these things where you know he's going to erupt and he is a man that is a he's a dominant species to you.
Mm,
Why do that? I'm not
mm,
saying that you should lay down and like every time a man says something to you, but like don't try intentionally to antagonize him. Like,
agree.
yeah.
But then you have some
Um,
women that fight men, so they do.
you do.
You
You
do.
do. And the only way that I don't care if you're freaking Clarissa Shields, the only way that you're beating up your man is if he's really, I don't even want to say, like he would have to either be A, you're a really thick, like
Mm-hmm.
strong girl
Mm-hmm.
and he's super skinny, like a buck 40, and then it's like okay, but like I would pray that there's not no like 150-pound girl beating up a 200-pound man. Like I'm sure the situations are out there, but we're talking about outliers at that point. But so to move on to the next question, do you feel it's a natural instinct for a man to protect?
Yes. Yeah, I do. I do think so. I
So,
mean, if well, a natural instinct, I think it should be. It may not necessarily be. I think it
so
goes
when I say
without
these questions,
saying.
I'm speaking general consensus because there's outliers. Every situation has outliers. I'm saying the majority of men. Do you feel like it's a natural instinct to protect?
I do. I do.
Okay, and I would say I also agree. I think it is a natural instinct for a man to protect. We view our woman as like a trophy. It's like one of our biggest prized possessions,
Mm-hmm.
and like um we look at you guys as like just little helpless innocent creatures. I mean we just do, like innocent helpless creatures that can't defend themselves, kind of like a puppy. And it's like God forbid, like I'm never allowing somebody to hurt you in any way, shape, or form. And like that's the
Mm-hmm.
same way as like it doesn't have to be my kid. Like if I seen a little kid out on the street and like some like teenager was trying to I'm gonna step in every single time. It don't have to be mine. I'm just not going for that.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. No, yeah, for
Um,
sure. Even like
okay,
if women are stranded on the side of the road, men usually if a
yeah.
man sees it, they'll usually see what they can do to help.
So the only tough thing with that, now I used to think like that, but now I done got to watching these shows and seeing
Oh
like
God.
the cases of women murdering people that have picked them up off the side of the road, like where they're stranded or they need help, or setting them up to be robbed. They'll pick them up, have
Yes.
them take them somewhere to a location, and
Yep.
so no. So now, before, yeah, no. I'm sorry. It's unfortunate. Like if I have extra money or something to help you out, then we can go that route. But you are not stepping foot in this vehicle. I'm telling you that right now.
You know what though? That's a very, very valid point because today's society, you don't know what you're dealing with. Yeah.
I've
So.
actually been set up. So like now it got real,
Mm-hmm.
real. Like I remember, so it was when I was younger. How old was I? I might have been like 21. I was still living in Des Moines, Iowa,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember it was late at night, like we're young men, we're little horn dogs, and um so I had DM'd this girl on Facebook. I was going to link with her, And she's like, yeah, she gives me this address, her address. She's like, yeah, you can head this way. So I get there and I message her. And I'm like, are you here? She's like, oh, we're walking down the street now. But we're, it's supposed to be like you, right? And she's supposed to come over. We're
Yeah.
supposed to chill and watch a movie or whatever. But now I see her walking down the street and she's like, 1 second, I gotta go inside real quick. I realized she didn't even give me her address because the house I see her going to is not the address that she gave me. The address she gave me
Mm,
was like two houses down. Now,
mm,
she like walks up to the window and she's trying to get me to come inside her house instead of coming over mine. And now, mind you, I am carrying, and so I'm like, no, we're supposed to like we agreed for you to come over my place. Like I'm not like and she's like, well, I got some friends over like right now. Like I got a couple of my girlfriends over, like we can still go to my room or whatever. And I'm like, something didn't seem right. And I'm just like I'm like, nah. And she's like, well, can a couple of my friends get in? And then like I'm like, nah. So I'm like, nah, I'm saying no. Finally, she gets mad and all of a sudden she's like, y'all come get him or something. And like I just see like four niggas come from like the side of the house. Like whereas if I would have tried to walk up the stairs, they would have like
yeah.
corralled me. But the thing what she doesn't realize is I always carried my firearm with me and one in the head, so she would have got everybody killed. Like that's like like. But the thing was, when I'm driving off and I see this, and I'm like, damn, I could have really like, if I didn't have enough discernment in my gut feeling, I could have put myself in a situation where I could have died or I would have had to kill one or the other. And
Mm-hmm.
that's from like linking up with a girl and them trying to set you up, just as like they could be on the side of the road. Like, so I've experienced that now that I know like there's that those kind of women out there. I unfortunately like it's unfortunate because I don't want to be an a-hole, but I just yeah I can't pick you up off the side of the road. I'm
I don't blame you. And I think I started with saying that today's society, you just never know what you're dealing with. So that is very
yeah.
fair, and I don't disagree with you.
Okay. So
Mm.
now we're almost like I got a couple more questions I want to ask you before we
Sure.
wrap it up here, but is it fair, and I know we kind of went over this a little bit, but is it fair to judge someone based on how they react to disrespect? I know we kind of like mentioned it in when we were going over something, but not as like
Yeah,
a actual question.
I do think at the end of the day, I think it is fair. I think as adults, we all have a obligation to discern and to handle situations in the best way that we individually see fit. And so, however that ends up being, it's fair for others to judge, right, wrong, or indifferent. So that's my personal take on it. Because people are
Well,
going to,
I
they're
guess
going to judge.
essentially, so now should people have the ability to judge? Yes, it's free world, right? Now,
Hmm.
but do I think it's
And they're
fair?
going
There's
to
a lot
do
of
it.
there's a so what I'm saying is, do you think it's fair? Just as if like, do you think it's fair that um that black people were oppressed? Is that fair? People can have like, you know, opinions on the matter, or you have the free will to you know feel a certain way about any situation, but do you think it's fair, I guess is what I'm saying. Not that like somebody should like they should have the ability to judge you, but do you think it's fair?
Um, no, it's not necessarily fair. No.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not necessarily fair. Um, but are they going to do it? They're going to do it, right? But no,
No, I
I do
agree.
understand
Yeah.
what you're saying, that no, it isn't necessarily fair, but unfortunately, it's just kind of how the cookie crumbles, you know? That's just
Right.
how I look at it, because people are going to judge us no matter what we do. People are going to talk about it, whatever. You know what I mean? That's just, I think it's just human nature. But
I
does it make
had
it fair?
so
No.
that right there was like the main question that made me want to go over this topic because I really thought about it and I was like, I think it's honestly really messed up when like I see people heavily judged based on like how they handled disrespect or how they reacted to it. But when you really like peel the layers back, who are we to judge somebody based on how they react to disrespect, how they feel disrespect should be handled? Like you don't know how it affected them when like when this was said. You don't know what
Mm,
they went through in their life experiences. Maybe you said something disrespectful. It would have been disrespectful to anybody, but it hit them harder because they went through they went through certain
you don't
things.
know.
So you
Hmm.
who are we to sit there and say, "Oh, well, you were disrespected, but I mean, you shouldn't have handled it like that." I
Right.
personally feel that you should not in any way, well, it's not fair to be judged based on how you react or handle disrespect. In my opinion, you should be able to handle real disrespect. I'm not talking about like your little petty, like real disrespect, how you see fit. And granted, that may not be everybody may not agree with that, but
Hmm.
when I look at it, I'm like, because there's certain things I know that would affect me more than they affect the next person. And so if you like said this certain thing to me, it's gonna have a different effect versus if you said it to my brother William,
Right.
right? Or
Right.
something like that. So yeah, like but I yeah, I don't feel like it's fair necessarily to judge somebody based on how they react to being disrespected.
Hmm. Hmm. I mean, yeah, like I said, I agree with that, because personally, have I felt like shame or scrutiny because of how I've reacted to disrespect in someone else's opinion of what they thought how they thought I should have handled it. Yeah, I've been there. So speaking from that perspective, it's like, yeah, no, it's not necessarily fair, because you're right. Who are you to tell me how I should react to something or handle something? Um, but then it's just, as an outlayer, as you call them, it just, it's not fair, but
It's
it is the cold hard, it is what we're dealing with, and it's just how people view us based on how we handle situations, react to them, whatever the case may be,
and
and unfortunately.
what's
Mhm.
messed up to piggyback off that is like it's not just like for instance, I only went to jail. I went to jail one time, and it was only for a couple days.
Mhm.
It's a long time. I think it was like 2 days. I think maybe a day and I don't know, day and a half, 2 days, something like that. But it was because a lady my age was disrespecting my mom, and then I
Mm.
disrespected her, and
Mhm.
then now I threatened her. Then she threatened me with her husband. Now it's a whole. But I went to jail based on that, based on how I handled disrespect, even though I didn't physically touch anybody. Now,
Right.
that followed me and affected me getting jobs, that little misdemeanor for years.
Was it
And it,
disorderly conduct?
yeah,
Okay.
but what they put in like when you pull it up to look at it, the writing is like, was something violent behavior? Did it like it? The way they made
Mm.
it seem was like it was more than what it
Way
was.
worse. Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so but I don't think I don't think it's fair at all. Just as I don't think we're supposed to live in this like free will country, um like freedom of speech, like all this stuff, but yet people have to be worried about how they're going to be viewed to the public with every situation or anything they talk about. Like, uh, I'm not even going to discuss certain things, but we couldn't even discuss a topic because you have to worry about how you're going to be perceived to the public based on your profession. And it's like we're not even really allowed to have our own honest opinion because you're going to be judged just based on having an opinion.
Hmm.
And I just feel like
And
all of that stuff
I
isn't
agree with
fair.
you wholeheartedly on that, because the topic that we wanted to talk about, I was I was open. I wanted to talk about it. I have very strong
I could
opinions about
tell. But your
it. Yeah, I
husband,
have.
he is smart. He's smart. Like he was
Yeah,
protecting you. That's what he should be
yeah,
doing.
yeah,
He was
yeah.
protecting you and that and so I actually didn't realize you were a realtor, but once you said that made sense. He was
Mm,
definitely protecting you because whether it's fair or not, that's just how, like you said, how the cookie crumbles and how people are gonna view you.
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
and you never know who's gonna come in and want to buy a home, and it could be somebody based on the discussion, and then they're like, oh, hold on, like
Right,
like so, yeah.
right.
But no, I think we're on the same
But
page.
I don't think it's fair, because I think society as a whole is forced into not really being able to stand in their own truth or speak
Right.
about freely what they want to speak about because of this cancel culture or whatever it is, so it is unfair in a lot of ways, but it is
And
unfortunately.
it's really
Yeah.
tough because I think it actually has a negative effect on people because the reason why a lot of nonsense is going on is because people are too afraid. Not enough people are willing to stand up and speak out on it. So now it's
Yep.
it's being more accepted than
Mm-hmm.
it ever would be if there were
Hmm.
people allowed to, where they wouldn't be
Step
like
on it.
potentially not be able to get a job or potentially um viewed in a certain light to
Mm-hmm.
society. Like they would, I feel like what's going on would not be nothing compared to what it is right now.
I agree. I agree.
But
Because you do have to worry about that now. Like,
yeah.
is someone gonna pull this episode, in
Mhm.
3 years from now, and then it go viral because I said something controversial, yes,
Yep.
and now people are coming for my family and my life, and and just can't, so yeah,
And
it's,
thank
yeah,
God for
yeah.
me, I don't care because I'm about to talk my shit regardless, and I'm gonna speak my my truth, and I don't care. Like I truly don't. Um I believe in, standing on my 10 toes
Mm,
and standing in my truth, and like if somebody has an issue with that, then we'll have to face that as it comes. But
yeah.
what's it called? So the other thing I wanted to ask was, do you think taking the high road is more effective than checking the issue immediately when it comes to disrespect?
Mm, do I think taking the high road is more effective than checking the situation immediately?
Correct. Yep.
Not necessarily, because I think you can do both. I think I've explained that, in just kind of some of my answers. I think you can do both at the same time.
Well,
Still
hold
take
on.
the high road.
You didn't explain how to do both at the same time. You've explained
I
that
did it.
not at the same, because how would you check a disrespectful situation? Because remember we had talked about like with a man, it's like if somebody's heightened, you ain't got no choice but to come in at that same level, or that man's not gonna give a shit. He's gonna look at you like a bitch. Like if you're just like, oh, sir, so you kind of have to come in as an alpha male, or like you got to have some real masculinity about yourself, and you gotta match, damn near match that person's energy. So it's like, in my opinion, but like also like far as taking the high road and just saying, you know what, babe, like let's just turn around and roll out or leave. Like now, to me, it's like one or the other. I don't know how do you do both?
If so, if I think I was touching on it earlier when you were saying if the man is in the woman's face. So in my situation, if there's a man in my face and he's, calling me a bitch and, got his finger in my face, and my husband comes up, and intervenes and is like, "All right, you're not going to talk to my wife like that. Your problem is with me." You know, for me, that is you checking the situation. Now, where it goes from there is one thing. Um, Taking the high road, though, I think that's still taking the high road because you're still defending your woman's honor and you're still letting her know that she's protected, but
So then
still
my
also
terminology's wrong because I don't when I or I'm just using it. Well, I guess the way I'm utilizing
diffusing it
quote
and
unquote
walking away.
high road, I'm
Hmm.
meaning like
Walk away.
walking away and not checking the situation versus checking the situation.
Then no, I think the situation needs to be checked. Disrespect needs to
Okay.
be checked. Yes,
Okay.
it needs to.
Well, we
It needs
we
to be addressed.
100% agree on that because this comes to my second to last question, which is a really good one.
Okay.
Do you feel you may leave yourself open to being bullied or picked on if you don't stand up for yourself and accept violence if it comes to that?
I think in a lot of ways, yes. You have to stand on business. You have to. Because if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Mm.
And I, if you allow yourself to be bullied and the other person, it's like a dog, they can sense that fear, they can sense that they've got the upper hand, and they're going to continue to press those buttons until it is addressed.
So this leads to my point. Now, we sit here and we try to preach to that, you know, don't resort to violence. You can walk away. Take the high road. Don't like this is what oh it's the mature thing to do is this. But in my opinion, all you're showing people how to do is get bullied at the end of the day. Because if people see that you're letting, I mean, if people see that you're just gonna allow them to walk over you, you're not
Hmm.
gonna check the situation. You're not gonna step up to the plate. You're not gonna assert yourself. They can do these things and there's no real repercussion for it. You
Hmm.
are going to be bullied as a child and as an adult in different situations. So I
Yes.
don't understand why people even preach um like taking the high road and doing all these things and walking away, but that is the exact reason why we have so many beta males today. And you don't want beta males in a society, you want alpha males. And at the end of the day, like you can't be bullied unless you allow yourself to be bullied. At the end of the day, like I feel like we make kids life more difficult when teaching them that way because no bully's going to care about you taking the high road or you walking away. That just lets them know they can continue to do it. So like
mm,
if
I
you
think
don't
to a certain extent, though, I think because they're going to try you until you show them something different. But as long as you've
aka violence.
sometimes some, yeah, aka
It's
violence,
either
yeah,
violence or
sometimes,
violent behavior because either you're gonna
yeah,
have to be
yeah,
like, look,
and
like fuck that, don't push me, like don't touch me, I'm done.
yeah,
Either
yep,
you're gonna have to be in a violent state, you may not have to get physical, but you are going to have to get into a violent state and stand up for yourself because if you don't, like you're just gonna get walked on, like, and it's
yes,
not
to
gonna
diffuse a
stop.
bully, yes, yes, to diffuse a bully, you are going to have to definitely resort to some type of assertiveness, for sure, for sure. And sometimes it might be violent, like you said, violent actions or violent words, but yeah, you're going
Right.
to have to um, definitely, do more than just take the high road when it comes to being bullied, for sure. Because
Now,
a bully has to be taught.
right, but even though we're talking about kids in that sense, people don't realize that grown men are bullied. Adults get bullied.
Adults are bullies. Yeah,
All
yeah,
yeah, adults
100%.
get bullied, and it's like, but when you keep saying, like, when people keep talking about again taking the high road or being more mature and walking away, well, if people continue to do these things and you're not checking it, letting people know you're not going to tolerate that, and you're not going to tolerate the disrespect, and like if it continues, you are going to stand up for yourself. But how do you like?
You can still do it though and take the high road. I guess for me, I would think of that like as an adult bully. I would speak to that in more of a like a professional environment because that's what comes to mind when I think of adult bullies. I think sometimes in the workplace you have people in leadership positions that are legitimately bullies, and because they hold a position of power, someone that's not in that same position would worry, how do I address this? I'm feeling bullied, whatever the case may be, how do I deal with this? And in that
I just look
situation,
at, like, I can't help when I see stuff like that. I
mhm.
look at men like pitiful, like pussies. Like when, like I've never had like I had a manager try me when I one time when I was working at when I was working in Des Moines at Drake West Village.
Mhm.
And it was over something so stupid, and he just didn't hear me. He was my manager. He didn't hear me respond to him. But the maintenance tech that was in his office did hear me respond to him. So he knew that I did. But the
Mhm.
manager didn't. And he came out like fired up, like, you fucking answer. I'm talking like literally. He's like, you fucking answer me when I talk to you. And he's like pointing his finger. He's like, matter of fact, fuck that, go home. He tries to grab my keys, all like, cause they were maintenance. Like I was a maintenance tech slash porter, and I had keys
Mhm.
to like the janitor's rooms,
Mhm.
office rooms, stuff like that. And he tried to snatch them off my pants. When I tell you, like, I snatched this man up, slammed him over the bikes and the maintenance, had him hung up by his neck, and literally told him, like, if you ever attempt to touch me again in your life, I will knock your teeth right out your mouth. And
Oh
this
no.
man, yeah, so he called the police.
You got
I ended
fired?
up, so I got fired, but I won my unemployment. But
Okay.
I could, here was the problem with it. I could have took it to the extent of suing the company because there was a lot of little incidents, but I was young and I didn't know to notate things, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
With
Mhm.
time, date, and stamp. So I
Mhm.
didn't feel
Mhm.
like going through that whole process when I didn't have nothing dated from the last 2 years.
Mhm. Mhm.
But no, so when people just let managers like think that they like I manager, no, like the only other situation outside that was the only physical, right? But I've had
Right.
situations where managers, like I had a manager at Triton Technology, where I used to work out here in like Tempe slash Phoenix, and
Mhm.
he was like, he's like, when I tell you to fucking do something, you do. I was like, who the fuck are you talking to? I was like, when you talk to me, you better show some fucking respect. I don't give a shit if you're the manager or you're the owner of the company. Like, we're both men, and I'm showing you respect, so you're gonna show me respect. And if it's any other way, then you can step outside and see me outside. And he just like, from that point on, I did not get fired. I did not get nothing. I got talked to by the higher up manager, and I just pretty much told her what happened, but he never came at me like that ever again the whole last year and a half I worked for the company. But it's like, but if you
You clearly nipped
but
that.
if right, but if you allow it and he comes
Hmm.
and talks to you like that like he did other people, he continued to talk to them like that. And it never stops. But like the thing
You're
about
right.
like and the thing about like when you're putting yourself into a situation when we're saying, well, it doesn't have to be violence, it just be step. Well, the problem with that is you have to be ready for violence because it can lead to violence. So you can't just put on the image or the front like, oh, you're big and bad or you're standing up for yourself because what if he actually takes that initiative to punch you in your face or to do this? You have to be ready for violence, not just put on the act. Like,
See, I don't know because I I don't know the type of person I am. If you hit me, that's gonna do something in me. It's just gonna a total shift is gonna take over. So I may not go into it being ready for violence, but if you hit me now, there's no more talking. You
well,
know,
I
I
say
don't know.
I say that because I've seen people go to like say something ignorant or like come back with something like cuz they're getting like picked on or something, but then when that person walks up and punches them in the face, they're like, "Oh my god, you just hit me." But it's
No,
like you
no,
got like that's what so I'm just saying like
yeah.
you have to be ready and I also feel like
I black
more
out. If you touch me, I'm a blackout, and it's over. You know, if you touch me, that's just me because I've been there. So, and I think I'm very I'm kind of hot. I don't have a happy median. I can go from 0 to 60 very quickly. So I have to work very hard at keeping it very mild manner depending on the situation and where I'm at and that kind of thing. Um because I know my temper and I know that I can escalate very quickly. So I'm not a violent person, but I have a mouth on me and that can ignite violence, right? Having
right.
being mouthy. So I think that yeah, I mean, yeah, if you touch me, it's that everything's off the table at that point.
The
And that's
layers
just
are peeled back.
yeah. Yeah. Yes.
So I think the the what is this? Yeah, so the last question I have here for you is would a man be more attractive to a woman if he doesn't tolerate disrespect or if he takes the high road? That's the ending question. Is a man more attractive to a woman if he does not tolerate disrespect, or is he more attractive is if he takes the quote unquote more mature route in the high road?
um if we're talking about the masses I think would say that just being not a zero tolerance for disrespect. Because I mean, again, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. For me, yes, I would probably fall into that category as well, depending on the situation and how. But for me, it's all situational how it's handled. But as long as I don't want to be with a man that isn't going to stand up for me. Period.
And
So
protect you, yes.
protect me. So yeah.
So at the end, we have discovered Monique loves violence. No, I'm just playing. I was just,
Damn.
I was just playing.
I'm like, damn it.
No, no, I'm just messing with you. So, I do think this was a great podcast. I want to thank you for hopping on here. Also give you the floor for any last thing that you wanted to say before I end everything for the night.
No, I thank you for having me as well. I enjoyed our dialogue. Lots to think about. um, yeah, because you definitely brought
What?
some things the to really think about, just as far as like men and how they handle things, and what that would look like. It's a lot to go talk to
Yeah.
my husband about,
So,
in a situation.
so, so, Monique, in the
Yes.
future, would you be willing to come back on?
Yes, I would. I would.
All right, that's awesome. So, I'm gonna go ahead and shut down shop, everybody. Let us know what you think about the topic in the comments. Outside of that, another fire episode, and we will catch you guys in the next one.
Thank you. Bye.
Showing up differently this time, 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 showing up.